Right, I will start. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this orientation class. Right, if you are in this class, you should be sure that. Okay, let me just share my screen. Right, you should be sure that you are either doing FAC 1501 or FAC 1502. So make sure that if you're in this class, you are doing any of these two modules. All right. My name is Eugene, but I normally use the other name. Right. I'll be the one facilitating this orientation class. Right. The purpose of this class is to introduce you to the module and maybe understand what you'll be facing in the foreseeable future. Right. FAC, either 1501 or 1502, is an entirely online module. Right. It is the semester module, and during the semester you will be assessed via assignments, about 5 assignments that you'll be doing throughout the semester. I think almost every month you'll be writing an assessment based on some of the topics. So at any particular point in time, you should be able to check your tutorial letters and announcements so that you can be able to be aware of the topics that will be required for each and every particular assessment. Normally with the last assessment, assessing you on all the topics. These assessments will contribute differently to your final mark. You can check that in tutorial letter 101. You can be able to check how you will be assessed there. All right. So today I will mainly look at the introduction regarding accounting. So I will mainly look at the introduction regarding accounting. Right. Remember that our modules, they mainly deal with accounting. Right. I'll deal with the introduction accounting. As I go through the introduction, I would start from the giving you a brief history of accounting. Right. Now, our lives as humans have passed through different phases where we are today. Right. If we go back to history, we would find that long back, people mainly survived through what was called individualism. With individualism, individuals were responsible for their welfare on their own. It was each man for himself. So it was whatever you needed, you were supposed to find it on your own. You were supposed to look for it on your own. If you wanted meal, you were supposed to do the agriculture. If you wanted meat, then you were supposed to go for the hunting, or maybe you keep animals so that you could survive. But later on, people discovered that it was virtually impossible. It was impossible for you to do everything on your own. I think even ourselves, we know that it's impossible for you to do all the things on your own. Whilst you are in class right now, some of your family members, friends, they are doing some of your duties that involve your life. Some are cooking right now. So you can find that it was not possible for people to do everything on their own. Right. So in order to improve the standard of life, that's when specialization came in. Now with specialization, it meant that individuals were now concentrating on one area. Right, I would, for this to be understandable, I would just break down my economy to an economy whereby there are only two needs. Okay, I've muted you guys. Then if you have to contribute, you can be able to contribute. You unmute yourself. Right, then with specialization, it meant that individuals could not get everything that they need. Right, I will just have a simple lifestyle whereby we say an individual just lives on two things, just survives on two things. That is, let's say they survive on pap and meat throughout their life. Right, so that we can be able to have an understanding there. Right, now we would find that people who were good in agriculture, they then concentrated on their agricultural part, whereby they were just planting their maize so that they get a meal at the end of the day. Whilst those who specialized in meat specialized in hunting. That's my simple economy there. Right. Now, because of the specialization, individuals no longer had everything that they needed. So it's either you had only meal or you only had meat, but you wanted both. Is that right? So to facilitate the living, then that's where barter trade came in, which was the exchange of products. So if I had my meal, I could go to someone with meat and then we exchange. Then both of us will now have meal and meat at the same time. Right. But with this trade, there were problems that were there. Number one, there were many problems, but I only talk about two. Number one, there was an issue of the exchange rate. How do we exchange our meal and the meat? Right. So every time there was a deal, we were supposed to sit down and discuss how we negotiate on how we'll exchange. Number two, there was supposed to be what we call coincidence of the wills. Right. For there to be a deal, if I had maize meal, the only way I could get meat is to find someone who had the meat and also wanted my maize. So if someone had meat but did not want my maize, there was no deal. So we're saying for you to get what you want, you should get someone who has what you want and who also needs what you have. That's what we mean by coincidence of the wills. So it was very difficult because you could find that you need meat, then you find someone with meat, you have got maize meal, then he says, no, I'm not in need of maize meal. Although he has got the meat, so then he says, I'll find something else, not maize meal, I don't want that. Right. Now, to do away with these problems, that's when there was the introduction of money to aid trade. Now with money, if I do my farming, I have my maize meal. What I simply have to do is after I harvest, I take the maize meal for my family, I put it aside, then the remainder I sell for money. I just put my price that my maize meal is for so much. After getting my money, I just go wherever to anyone who is selling meat, and then I buy my meat. So things could now be priced, so the things of the exchange rate was no longer there, as things could just now be priced, and then later on the market forces could determine the price. And there was no need of the coincidence of the will. I would just sell my maize. Everyone wanted maize to come to me, give me money, and when I wanted meat, I go with my money, not with maize, to go and get some meat. So the introduction of money aided trade. Long back, they didn't use the currency that we have, the notes and coins. They used to use gold and silver. Right. Now with the introduction of money, that's when others now became more clever. Then they saw that, I can be able to get an opportunity to get some money. All right. So right, that's when there was the beginning of trade. Of course, trade was when they were exchanging, they were doing trade. But now we're talking about people now with money. They just go and buy maize. You know that there is maize in Mpumalanga, but there is no maize in Northern Cape. You go to Mpumalanga, buy the maize, and go with it to Northern Cape and sell the maize. Right. With the beginning of trade, we now had our oldest form of business, which was called the sole trader. Right. In the beginning, the owners used to manage their business. But at a later stage, that's when they discovered that it's not always that you can do everything as an owner. There are people with money, but they don't have business brains. And some, they've got money and they've got business brains, but they've got other commitments. So some of the businesses, they give to some people to manage for them. So at the end of the day, then there was the employment of managers. These managers were called stewards. Right. Now, with the introduction of managers, now there was an issue. You give someone your money to run your business. So now, these managers had to account for their stewardship. They had now to come back to the owner and explain how they've used the money of the owner, what is left, what is there, and everything. So that was now the beginning of accounting, whereby now the stewards now had to give detail on how they will have taken care of the wealth of the owner. So that was the history of how accounting came into being. Right. Now, we now know that maybe, let me just also quickly just look at forms of business ownership. With the growth of business, we now had different forms of business as business grew. Right. In South Africa, we've got the following forms of business. Number one, we've got the sole trader, or what is called a sole proprietorship. A sole trader, sole means one. This is a business that is owned by a single individual. This is a business that is owned by a single individual. Although he can have employees, he can have a manager, as I said before, but the owner is a single person. So you find that most of the spaza shops that we see, the Magogos who sell magwinya, and those who sell tomatoes, most of those guys are sole traders. Right. Then number two, we've got what we call a partnership. A partnership, this is a business that is owned by 2 up to 20 people. So 2 up to 20 people who come together for the sake of making a profit. Those are what you call partners. And they come together in what you call an unincorporated manner. They are not incorporated according to a specific statute. Then number three, we have a cross corporation. So these are incorporated businesses registered in terms of the Close Corporations Act 59 of 1984. Right, you'd find that you can no longer form a close cooperation in South Africa. From 1 May 2011, you can no longer form a close cooperation. Then someone may ask, so why are we talking about a business that cannot be formed? We still have those that were formed prior to 1 May 2011, which are still operating. That's why we still talk about it. Right, then number 4, we've got a company. Right, business incorporated or registered in terms of the Companies Act 71 of 2008. All right, so if you register your business in terms of the Companies Act 71 of 2008, then that's a company. So these are the 4 main forms of business that we have in South Africa. Right, for our module, we'll mainly be dealing with the accounting for sole traders. For our module, we only be dealing with accounting for sole traders. We don't do the accounting for partnerships, close corporations, and companies. So we only do these 3 that I've mentioned there. All right. Now let me now go back to the definition of accounting. All right. Most people, they just think that accounting is just the recording of transactions, producing the accounts and stuff like that. But actually, it's a process. It's a process which is a little bit long. It will start with the happening of transactions. Let's say a business sells goods, a business purchases goods, a business buys a motor vehicle, or the owner contributes a furniture to the business. All those activities are the ones that begin the accounting process. Then after that, we then have the recording of those transactions. They now have to be recorded in what we call the books of accounts. After being recorded, then they have to be reported to the what we call the users of financial statements. Right. So actually, accounting, we define it as the orderly and systematic identification and recording of the monetary values of financial transactions of an individual or business entity. And then reporting of the results to the users for decision making. So actually, accounting is identifying all those things that are evidence of financial activity of a business. After identifying them, we then have to record them. After recording them, we have to report. So actually, it's a 3-stage process. Number 1, there is what we call identification. identification of those events which are evidence of economic activity. For example, we've got buying of goods, selling of goods, buying of motor vehicles, acquiring of loans. So anything that has got a financial impact of it on the business, it has to be identified first. It has to happen. Maybe if you go to ShopRite, they will keep those cash slips. They will be, at the end of the day, they will produce a cash register that will summarize all the sales. And if Ashanti Gold buy a vehicle, they will have the record of the vehicle that has been bought. Right. Then the number 2 activity is recording. After we've identified them, we have to record them. Right. That is the recording of monetary value of the economic event. Actually, you find that most of the time in this module will be doing the recording. So there are many records that have to be done, from books of original entry, the ledger, file balance, with the financial statements, the analysis, and all those things. Right. Then after recording, the last stage is communicating. Right. This is now, you are now reporting the financial performance and financial position of the business to the user. For them to make decisions. Right. At the end of the day, we have to report our information. We don't just do accounting for fun. It has to be produced for users so that they can be able to make economic decisions. Right. So now we've arrived at the juncture where we're saying accounting is done so that we can produce financial information which can then be used by users to make decisions. That's where we are now. So now we want to know who are these users and what are their needs. Who are these users of financial information? Right. We have got different users, and these users, they've got different needs. Is that right? So we have our users, then their needs here. Sorry, just saying. Right. We have got investors and prospective investors. Right. Investors are those people who have put their money in the business. And the prospective investors are people with money who are searching for investment, where to put their money. Right. So we're saying these investors, they assess the risk of investing in a business. And also they use the financial statements to determine the returns or expected returns. They will check, am I making a profit from the money that I've invested? Is that right? So they will have to, they check what are the profits that were made. They look at the liquidity position. Is the business solvent? Is it able to continue operating into the future? What are the chances that the business can fail? That's assessing the risk. Right. So then they can also decide on whether to inject more funds or whether to withdraw funds. If they are not happy, they will take away their funds. Or if they are happy, they will even put more money into the business. Is that right? So the investors, their main interest is to see if it's worth it investing in that business. All right. We have got the government. They have to determine right. They have to determine the tax. Normally, they determine the tax from what we call taxable income, and the taxable income is almost the same as it's related to the profit, not necessarily the same. Right? They need to regulate business. Tax is also part of regulation, but it's one of the main reasons for financial information. That's why I put it separately. So they would also need to regulate business, and also for national planning. They have statistics that they can compile from businesses, from what is happening in the businesses, so that they can be able to make decisions on how they can run the country. Right? We've got management. Right. For planning. Controlling. On controlling, they can also evaluate through the analysis of the financial information. They can even evaluate their performance. That, for example, we're targeting to get a profit of 1 million. Then what did we get at the end of the year? So they can use that financial information so that they can be able to see what is happening. Right, we've got employees. Right, management are employees, but we put them separately because of their special role. Right, the general employees, they also need financial information so that they can assess their job security. If your company is doing well, then you know that probably your job is safe. But if your company is struggling, you know that anytime they can streamline activities or they can close, resulting in you losing your job. All right. Wage and salary negotiation. I think we have heard on a number of occasions labor unions arguing with companies that last year you made a profit of 20% and the profit grew by so much. But we just want a salary increase of so much, but you're not giving us. So employees, they can also use the financial information as a basis for obtaining a salary increment. Right. Then we have got customers. Right, they assess the ability of the business to continue operating. Which we call going concern. So they will assess that will the business continue operating in the foreseeable future. You know that if the business will continue, like where you buy, as long as they are continuing, if they are showing favorable results, then you know that you continue getting what you want. Right. We have lenders and creditors. Right, they assess the ability of the business to pay back the money that they owe. To pay back amounts owed. This can be in the form of the principal and interest. Is that right? Right. Then they can also to assess whether to extend the debt or not. I think you know, some of you have applied for loans. You have seen that they would ask you that, can we have your bank statement and copies of your payslip? They are trying to assess your financial situation to see if it is worth it for them to give you debt, so that they can see if you are able to pay back the money. Right. Then we can also have a general public. They also need the financial information so that they can assess the contribution of business to the community. What are they doing for the community in which they are residing, where they are harvesting profits? What are they giving back to the community? Right. So those are some of the groups that we talk about as users. Of course, we can also talk about financial analysts and media. They usually give advice and report on financial information. Right. So these are some of the users. That's why we prepare financial information so that we can give all these groups. Now you can see that there are a lot of people who depend on this financial information. Now, considering that there are a lot of people who depend on that information, that's why financial information has to be prepared properly. That's why financial information has to be prepared properly. Now you'll find that long back accounting could be done in whatever manner. You could come to me and say, prepare me financial statements. I prepare them in one way. Then you go to someone else and ask for the financial statements. Then they prepare them in another way, which created confusion. Now, to limit the confusion and eliminate some of that confusion, accountants came together and they formed a body which is called the International Accounting Standards Board. So this is a body with representatives throughout the world, including South Africa. Here we've got bodies like Cyber. So you find that they subscribe to this International Accounting Standards Board. So this one, it establishes standards of accounting. We had the old version that was called International Accounting Standards. So from time to time they issue pronouncements, which was called IAS. Then we've got the newer version, which is called the International Financial Reporting Standards. So these standards are not necessarily law. They are just guidelines. Although in some jurisdictions, they've become law. For example, if you are reporting on a very big company in South Africa, it is a requirement that, which is maybe on the stock exchange, it is a requirement that they should prepare their financial statements according to IFRS, the International Financial Reporting Standard. So in that way, it becomes law. But generally, they are not law, they are guidelines that guide accountants on how to treat specific types of transactions. Right, this body, it seeks to harmonize accounting so that accounting can be the same throughout the whole world. So that when you are here in South Africa, and when you are in Zimbabwe, when you are in England, when you are in Malawi, when you are in Lesotho, when you are in Namibia, or wherever you are, the principles are the same, the policies are the same. What changes is the currency only, but accounting will be the same so that it becomes professionalized. Right, as we saw, it is very necessary because there are many people who are relying on that information. In information processing, we've got a concept that we call garbage in, garbage out. Through this concept, we mean if the information that we are provided by accountants is not correct, we are likely to arrive at wrong decision. So that's why the ISB had to step in. When I say ISB, I mean this International Accounting Standards Board. They had to step in to make sure that accounting is done in a proper way, in an organized manner that will produce the best results for the users of the financial statement. Right. Then through the conceptual framework of financial reporting, the initial one was for 2010, but they produced a new one, which is the 2018 version, which is the one that we are using now. Now, in this framework, they gave us what we call the qualitative characteristics of useful financial information. So by this we mean for information to be useful to the users, remember they need to use it. It has to meet these minimum characteristics. So these are the minimum characteristics that you could meet by financial information for it to be useful. These characteristics are divided into two categories. Number one, we've got what we call the fundamental characteristics. These fundamental characteristics are two. We have got A, faithful, representation. As an accountant, you have a duty to make sure that you produce your financial information truthfully, with honesty, without bias. You should not allow your individual biases to influence the way you report. Let's say at your organization, they said that the employees are going to get a bonus if the profit increases by 20%. As an accountant, you should not be found working hard to just make sure that the profit of 20% is made by hook or crook. You should report what is there. If it was not made, report exactly what is there. So we're saying accountants should execute their duties with honesty and truthfulness. And should not allow individual biases to influence the preparation of financial information. And for us to say information has been faithfully represented, it has to have the following. It has to have completeness. You should not just include half of the information. When you're including information, include all the information. We should also have what we call neutrality. You should be neutral. There should not be premeditated ideas to report what you want, which is not on the ground. All right. Then freedom from error. By all means necessary, you should try to make sure that there are no errors. Of course, we know that as humans, sometimes it's impossible to entirely avoid errors. But by all means possible, make sure that any errors that can be there will not be too big to influence the user's decision. So these are the three that are required so that we can say information is faithfully represented. So as an accountant, you've got a duty to make sure that everything is properly represented. Right. Then the second one, we have got what we call relevance. Information presented should be necessary to attain the needs of the user. We should not waste time reporting on something that is not important. So that means we should not leave out important information, and we should not waste time presenting something which will not add value to the user. All the information presented should add value to the user. So it should be relevant to meet the needs of the user. And to support this concept, there's a concept of that we call materiality. Materiality. For an item to be presented, that means its omission or inclusion should affect the decisions of the user. So if there's something whereby including it or not including it, it doesn't affect the user, then there's no need for us to record such a thing. We should only record those things that have got an influence on the decisions of the user. So these are the two fundamental characteristics of financial information. Then to support these fundamental characteristics, we have got what we call the enhancing characteristics. Right, so we now have what we call the enhancing characteristics. They work hand in hand with those fundamental characteristics. Right, on the enhancing characteristics, we have got number one, timeliness. Financial statements should be prepared on time. I think we always say time is money. So they should be prepared and produced when they are still important for the decisions of the user. We are now in 2023, so it doesn't make sense for an accountant to be producing now the financial statements for 2020. Right now, we should be waiting for the financial statements for 2022 or 2023, not 2020. Financial information should be prepared on time so that it can be able to help the user. Is that right? So, financial information should be recent, which will increase reliability. So let's not waste our time with old information, which might not be very, very useful. Of course, we know that when we're analyzing a business, we might need maybe 3-4 years information, but in addition to that, we should have the current, the most recent information. Let's not just have old information only. Right. Then we have got understandability. Right. One thing that we should understand is that most of the users that we talked about are not necessarily accountants. So we should not, when we present our information, let's not just put too much accounting jargon. Financial information should be summarized in a way that an average person can be able to understand. Although you are not an expert in accounting, but you should be able to read that, oh, this business made sales of so much, or they made a profit of so much. Although you can't prepare them, but at least the information provided should be able to be justified by the groups that use them. All right, so financial information should be easily understood by an average user. So I think an average user should be a person that has got reasonable knowledge of the business and who is interested in understanding that information. Right. Then the other one we have got verifiability. Right. All accounting information should be proven. You cannot just say I sold for 10,000. We need to be able, if we ask you, let's see the receipt and invoices for those sales, you should be able to produce them. So I think all accounting information should have proof. Is that right? So all financial information produced by the entity should be able to be verified or proven. So this verification can be direct, whereby you can say if they say they saw the vehicle, I should be able to see the vehicle, check the papers, and see that they are in their name as a company. Or it can be indirect, whereby you can maybe even go to the, you can even call the a creditor, or maybe you can get information about inventory through stock counting sheets. So it, as long as there's proof, then it's fine. Then the next one is comparability. Financial information should be provided in a way that it can be compared from one period to another. So we're saying financial information should be prepared in a way that allows an assessment of the performance of the business over time. So the way we present our financial statements for this year should be the same as last year, so that we can be able to compare and see trends to see if there are improvements or things are going down. We should be able to get all that information. That's why you see, I think those who have seen financial statements before, you'd see that they are presented side by side. When they produce the 2022 financial statements, they will produce them side by side with the 2021 statements, so that the users can be able to see the changes that will have happened between 2021 and 2020. Right, so according to the conceptual framework, all financial information should at least meet these characteristics that I just talked about. Right, then we also have what we call our general assumption according to the conceptual framework. Our general assumption is called going concern. Right, and according to this principle, we are saying financial statements prepared on the assumption that the business will continue operating into the foreseeable future. That means there is no plan to close the business. We are expecting the business to operate into the future. That's the general assumption. So when you see financial statements, your assumption is that this business that you can see here will be there next year, will be there 2 years to come, will be there 3 years to come, will be there 4 years to come. Because if as long as it's not a going concern, there will be other reporting requirements that will be required, specifically for a business which is not a going concern. So as a user, unless told otherwise, you assume that the financial statements that you can you are presented with are for a business that will be continuing to operate for some time to come. Right. At this stage, I would like to ask any questions. Right. If there are no questions, this was the introduction or the orientation that I wanted to do with you. But before we close, I would like to call Mr. Junior. He would like to have a few words with you. Mr. Junior.
Yes, Mr. Commander, how are you?
I'm fine, and you? Okay, I give you the floor, sir.
Thank you very much. Can you unmute everyone?